Hello and welcome to the daily news analysis session of Naranaya's Academy. I'm Yogesh Kottawar, and today we are going to deal with four important articles from The Hindu and Indian Express. Now, before I start, I have an interesting quote for you. Now, this quote can be directly used in your ethics or essay paper, but you need to understand the essence of this quote. It says, human morality is unthinkable without empathy. Now, why is it saying this thing? Because when you look at morality, when you look at things, whether they are right or wrong, what should be exactly done in life, you look at the real essence or real element of humans, or what we call it in simple terms as humanity. So, if I have to differentiate between animal and a human being, I'll not say that only there is a difference in the brain's capacity or any other stuff. I'll say there is a dimension of morality which exists in human beings. Even Mahatma Gandhi used to say that the soul of human beings is a developed one, whereas the soul of animals is not yet developed. And that's why we are saying when you look at human morality, you can't think about it without looking at the core element of our human beings or of our existence. When you look at human beings, the core thing that comes into picture is the empathy. When you say that there should be some humanity, that on humanitarian ground we should do something, then we are talking specifically about empathy. So even in the civil services, when we talk about foundational values of civil servants, empathy is one of them. Okay, so a good quote you can mention. Now, before moving ahead with the articles, just a brief introduction of the courses that are existing at Narayana's Academy. The 1 year prelims cum mains integrated course for 2026 examination and 2 year prelims cum mains integrated course for 2027 examination. Now, the course structure has been clearly mentioned over here. Even on the website, you will find all the details related to the course. And you can go ahead with the QR code that you must be getting on the screen for the admissions. Now, moving ahead with the articles. These are the four articles that we are going to discuss in detail. The first article is related to child marriage laws that exist in India. The second article is related to denotified tribes. You should know what do we mean by denotified tribes. The third article is related to mining, and specifically here we are going to deal with tungsten mining. And fourth article is related to a report given in the name of Acer report, which is given by an NGO. And this report is considered to be a really good report in the sector of education. Okay, so all these four articles are highly important for us. Now, starting with the first article related to child marriage. Now, child marriage, although in prelims, the legal aspect can be important for prelims, but from mains perspective, you should have a clear-cut idea about the situation that exists in India with respect to child marriage. When you look at Indian society, this one becomes one of the challenge in the Indian society or the progression of Indian society. So GS1, even GS2 social justice part, this topic becomes important. Now you can look at this previous year question asked in the year 2019. Empowering women is the key to control the population growth. Discuss. Now I have personally observed UPSC more or less focuses a lot on the theme of gender, specifically focusing on women. So you will find many essays, you will find many mains questions directly asked on this theme. So you should be prepared on each theme or each topic related to this major theme, child marriage being one of them. Now the article says that there is a debate going on about substantive equality in child marriage laws. First of all, what do we mean by substantive equality? See, you understand the term equality, that there should be equality, everything should be equal, or people should be dealt in an equal manner. There should not be any discrimination. Now, equality will be of two types. One is procedural and another one is substantive. Now, when you look at the process, then you call it procedural equality. Let's say I started a project wherein I decided that I will distribute money that is there in India with everyone in equal amounts. So I give exact same amount of money to a rich person, same amount of money to poor person and the middle class person. Then process was in equal terms. So we will call it procedural equality. But after some years, what I found is the poor, even after having the same amount of money, later on became more poor. The rich became more rich. The middle class remained in the middle class trap. Okay, maybe because they lacked some kind of education. The rich person had that educational level. He had the capacity to go ahead with more investment. So there could be many other factors playing role. But I followed the right procedure wherein I maintained equality. So that is procedural equality. But instead of this procedure, if I think of this angle, wherein as an outcome, I want equality should be there and not just in procedural form. Just by following process, nothing happens. Poor are poor, rich are rich. What's the use of it? So when you look at the outcome part, or when you say that there should be some substance into it, procedure doesn't matter. Then you're thinking about equality as outcome or substantive equality. Okay. So, right now, debate is going on with respect to substantive equality with respect to child marriage laws. Now, first of all, what do you understand by child marriage? Simply, if children are getting married, that's a child marriage. But whom should we consider a child? So, we have to get the definition given under this Prevention of Child Marriage Act 2006. Under this act, a girl below the age of 18 years is considered to be a child, and a boy below the age of 21 is considered to be a child. So here do you see equality? Well, we don't see that equality. Age is different, but this is what is mentioned in this particular act. Now interestingly, the data or this definition given under Prevention of Child Marriage Act is very different from the other act. We have another act called Majority Act of 1875. And this act says that any person who has completed 18 years of age, whether you belong to this category, that is you are a female or a male person, if you have completed 18 years, then you will be considered adult person, or you are a person who has reached to maturity. So what do you see? In our legal frameworks, there is no consistency. One act is saying this is the definition, other act is saying this is the definition. So the first problem with respect to child marriage comes is the definition of child, and there is difference with respect to the definition itself. Okay, this is the first aspect. Now let's understand, is child marriage a big issue for us? Is it a serious issue for us? Well, most of the people who stay in the urban parts of India, or they are well educated, they feel that child marriage is not a big problem because they are not observing it. But we have to look at the data given by Indian government or given by United Nations. So we have United Nations Children Fund. What their data says about India specifically. Each year, at least 1.5 million girls under 18 years get married in India, and this is the largest number of child brides in the entire world. So when it comes to child brides, India is the capital of the world. Then India ranks fourth among the 8 South Asian countries when it comes to child marriage. So all these data, you don't need to remember each and every data, but these data are mentioned so that you can understand the seriousness of the situation. Now this is the data given by UN. There is another data given by Indian government in the form of this National Family Health Survey. Now what this survey says, first of all, in recent times, what we have seen is a progression. We have reduced the child marriage to some extent. For example, the share of women aged 20 to 24 who married before turning 18 has declined from 27% to 23% in the last 5 years. So what do you understand as a trend? In the last 5 years, Because of Indian government's initiatives, we were successful in bringing this rate down to 23% from 27%. So certainly we are doing good also. But there are some states who are doing really bad. There are total 8 states where the prevalence of child marriage is very high. And out of that, I'll specifically talk about West Bengal, Bihar, and Tripura. The case is worst in these states. Now, if I look at some states where the literacy level is high, when you say literacy, you're just thinking about reading habit or writing. Reading and writing is the basic fundamental thing. After that, you think about the education. So, when you look at just the literacy level in all the states of India, we all know Kerala is at the top. So, when you look at Kerala, we see that the child marriage rate is relatively lower as compared to these states like Bihar, Tripura, or West Bengal. So, one idea we get that the state where literacy level will be higher, child marriage will be relatively lower. So, education has a key role to play in the social aspect of life that is called the marriage. Now, drivers of child marriage. Drivers means what are the reasons why child marriage is taking place? What are the factors behind this child marriage? A major factor is the poverty that exists in India. See, families in India, they have economic burden and they want to reduce that economic burden as soon as possible. So to reduce that burden, they want to go ahead with early marriage of their children because later on they may require more money, they may require more amount of dowry. See, with respect to dowry system in India, if the age of girl is high, you will have to pay more amount in the form of dowry. But the age is lower, in that case, you will be paying less amount. So, poverty is a major reason, and people want to reduce this particular burden. Second is the social expectation. Now, when you look at the social condition that exists in India, there is an expectation by the society from girls or women that their role as wife or their role as mother is more important than anything. But when you look at boys or men, they are expected to go ahead with their careers. They are expected to take the education, take the job, continue with their career progression. But when you look at women, there is an assumption or expectation that you should give priority to the role as wife or mother more than your career. So many a times, what families do, instead of focusing on their education and all, they'll go ahead with child marriage. Then, lack of education is a major factor. I already discussed that in Kerala, you see less number of child marriages because when you give education, when there is awareness, when people are enlightened, they know what is going to happen because of child marriage. They are known about these laws that exist in the country. So anyway, that will reduce child marriage if education is there. Then we have some cultural norms, some rules, unsaid or said rules. These norms set some boundaries on women. They say that the family's honor is the responsibility of girls or women. So they are expected to protect their virginity. And the best solution to protect that is to get them married as soon as possible so that family's honor can be protected. So because of this cultural norm based in the patriarchy or patriarchal structure, we see child marriage existing in India. Then there is another angle to this that we call as safety or security angle. See, if there are areas where such cultural norms exist, where we see violence towards female, which is very normal, or we see many cases of rape, murder, etc. In such areas, the family members will be very much concerned about the security of their girl child. And the best way to secure them would be to get them married as soon as possible so that the responsibility then will lie with the husband and that family and they'll take care of it. So, this is how even society or people or family think. Dowry system I already discussed. And the last part is the awareness and services, which will be part of education. Obviously, if you are aware of these laws or what kind of punishment is there for child marriage and all, you will take the legal help, you'll go ahead with that, right? But because it is lacking, that's why we see child marriage. So all these are the reasons or factors or drivers of child marriage. Now, this child marriage will have some impact on the rights and development of these children. One major right that gets violated over here is the right to autonomy, because this marriage takes place in a forceful manner. Nobody wants to marry at that age usually, and there the autonomy or the consent of that person is not at all taken into consideration. Anyway, they are children, so the decisions of their life are taken by their family, and here it is one of the major decisions of their life affecting this right. Then there is impact on the education and the economic status of women because of child marriage. Because they are getting married early, now they will not be getting their education, there will be dropout. Because they lack education, they are not getting a good job or any job as such. So what will happen? You will not have economic opportunities in life, so you will become poor and you will stay in this poverty cycle for your entire life. Then third thing is you have some health risks. So when children are married in early age and they get into the process of pregnancy and reproduction, that will have some impact on their physical as well as mental health. They suffer from mental trauma, which is considered to be a not good thing for such a child. And at last, we can discuss this Article 21 also, which talks about right to life and personal liberty. Even when we were saying that we lack a right to autonomy, that is also part of Article 21. It's a fundamental right which gets violated because of child marriage. Now, look at these legal frameworks that exist with respect to child marriage in India. So, we have Prevention of Child Marriage Act 2006. Under this act, child marriage is completely banned in India. And if anyone is getting into this activity or forcing someone, let's say your family members are forcing, or someone is facilitating this child marriage, in that case, that person will have to go ahead with 2 years of rigorous imprisonment and 1 lakh rupees fine. Now, this is mentioned in this particular law. Apart from that, there are some special officers, child marriage prohibition officers, who are established and who are expected to collect evidence related to child marriage, to go ahead and bring some awareness in the society with respect to child marriage and prevent it. And most importantly, you have seen the punishment, but if you see it as a crime, it's a crime certainly, but it's a cognizable and non bailable offense. See, there are some offenses which are considered to be non cognizable. That means it's a crime, but it's not that serious crime. But cognizable means it's a very serious crime, just like murder, rape, these are considered to be cognizable offenses. So, immediate legal action will be taken against you, and you are not going to get any bail in case you are charged under Prevention of Child Marriage Act. Now, there are some international commitments that India has with respect to child marriage. For example, we have this UN Convention on the Rights of the Child. India is a signatory. India has already signed this particular convention, and this convention says child marriage violates human right. So we have obligation. Then we have these sustainable development goals, which we are supposed to complete by 2030. So if you look at the target number 5.3 of this SDG, it says ending all harmful practices against children. We have to end it by 2030, and child marriage is one of them. Okay. Now, what is happening in recent times, or what is happening recently because of which there is a news related to child marriage? Because there is a case going on in Allahabad High Court. In that case, what the High Court said is that there should be gender neutral annulment timelines. See, in case there is a person whose child marriage was done, so that person was married, let's say at the age of 12 or 13, Now that person has an opportunity to cancel out that marriage, but that is possible only when that person becomes mature. Now, as per the law, it is possible only when, only after 2 years of getting this maturity. And when will you get maturity? Well, here for women it is 18 years, for men it is 21. So plus 2, you will see there is a difference. So a woman will be going ahead with this annulment or cancellation at this age, man will go ahead in this age. So there is an age difference. So Allahabad High Court is saying it should be gender neutral. This annulment timeline should be gender neutral. And to make this gender neutral, Government of India brought this amendment bill in the act, this Prevention of Child Marriage Act. This bill was brought in the year 2021, and the plan was to raise women's marriage age to 21, making it equal to that of boys, or what we call men. So make it equal. That was the idea. But this bill was criticized a lot. Although government said we have a good intention. Government said that we want to reduce early pregnancies, we want to promote education, and for that this age should be increased. But criticism was there because when you make such provisions, then the role of state comes into picture and state's authority increases, state's control increases over women, whereas we are not solving the root causes because of which women are in a bad or pathetic condition. So it was criticized hell lot, and that's why the bill was not passed, rather it got lapsed. So this is what is happening in the recent times, we can say, with respect to child marriage. Okay, now we have the next article. I'll give you few seconds, let me check if we have any comments or questions. Okay, no comments. Let's move ahead with the next article. Now, next article is related to denotified tribes. And see, you should know what do we mean by denotified tribes. This can be easily asked in the preliminary examination, and for mains also, while writing answers, you can mention about this tribe because it is one of the vulnerable group that exists in India. Now, look at this previous year question asked in the year 2013. They are asking about the name of tribe and the state specific to it, or where these tribal people are living. So you can expect such questions. Now, what's the exact news related to denotified tribes? So there are some tribal groups whom we call as denotified tribes. They are nomadic or even semi-nomadic tribal groups, and they are supposed to be classified. Their classification has to be done. And here, Anthropological Survey of India and Tribal Research Institute, they have done a study. Under this study, they have come up with 268 tribal groups, and they are classifying them as being very vulnerable and they should be included in SC, ST or OBC list. This is what they are saying. So first of all, we should know what do we mean by denotified, semi-nomadic and nomadic tribe. The first thing is this term nomadic. What do we mean by nomadic? Well, you look at a person who doesn't have a residence, a permanent residence. If I ask you, what's your hometown? You'll say some particular place. But there are some people, some tribal groups who do not have a permanent residence of their own. They keep on moving from one place to another. So, for example, you must have heard about Banjaras, right? They keep on moving. They work in such a way that they keep on moving, keep on traveling. They don't have one particular place to live. Such people are called as nomadic people, or such tribal groups are called as nomadic tribes. Now, there are some who are called as semi nomadic also. Semi nomadic means they are very similar to the nomadic tribes, but they come to a particular place after traveling. So, let's say there will be one place where they will come periodically. Let's say once in a year they'll visit a particular place. Otherwise, they keep on moving. Such tribal groups will be called as semi-nomadic tribes. Clear? Now, what do we mean by denotified tribes? So you see, before independence, at the time of British rule, especially between this 1871 to 1947, now in this time period, British government was very much serious about these tribal groups who are either nomadic or semi-nomadic. They didn't like this thing that these people are not settling at one place, they keep on moving. They wanted to restrict their activities. The government wanted to restrict their activities. And the best solution British government found was to call them criminal. So what British government did at that point of time, they brought this act, Criminal Tribes Act, and under this act, they labeled, they put a label on these tribal groups as being criminals, that all of them are criminals. This is what we call as notification of these tribal groups as criminals. They have become criminals in the eyes of law. So they are now notified tribes. But after independence, Government of India decided will not have any such law, will remove such provision. So government brought Habitual Offenders Act 1952, which replaced this act, Criminal Tribes Act. And all those tribal groups who were notified as criminals, they were denotified. That means their notification as criminals was cancelled out. So that's why now we call all these tribal people as denotified tribes. I hope you understand. And the day on which this particular act was passed or this denotification was done, that day is celebrated as Vimukta Jati Day. That is on 31st August. Now, right now, if you see, there are total 500 nomadic tribes, out of which, if we talk about just denotified nomadic tribes, they are somewhere around 150. Okay. And what is their occupation? Well, some of them are hunters, some of them are pastoralists, some of them are kind of art performers or artisans. And you cannot neglect them because their population is very substantial. They are somewhere around 10% of total India's population. So you can't neglect this population so easily. Even if they are less, which we should not neglect. But even population is substantial. And it's not like these tribal groups belong to only one community, one religious group. Some of them belong to Hindus, some Muslims, some Sikhs. So there is religious diversity in this particular group, that is denotified tribes. Okay. Now, there were multiple attempts made to classify these denotified tribes. So, why classification was required? Because this is one of the vulnerable groups, and Government of India is supposed to take some actions for the welfare of vulnerable population. For example, for SC community we have reservation, ST community we have reservation, OBC we have reservation. So, something government is doing for the welfare of vulnerable population. But these are denotified tribes who did not get any benefit, so they should be notified or they should be classified into either SC or ST or OBC or something, so that some welfare action can be taken. So earlier Kaka Kalelkar commission, that was for the backward community classification, was there. Lokur committee for ST classification, Mandal commission for OBC reservation, then Renke commission of 2008, and then this Idate commission of 2017. Now this Idate commission is quite important because they identified total 1200 such tribes, more than 1200 tribes who were denotified ones, and they should be coming up with a tag either in the SC or ST or OBC, so that some welfare can be done. So right now we said it is in news because there is a study conducted. I'll show you. We said over here that there is a study conducted by Anthropological Survey of India and Tribal Research Institute, and they have classified 268 tribes. Now here we are talking about these 268 tribes. Out of these 268, 179 tribes recommended for SC, ST and OBC inclusion. Already it is recommended by the commissions. 85 tribes classified for the first time ever. Till now, they were never notified or they were never recommended by any commission. And 63 tribes are not traceable. Not traceable means either these tribal groups have migrated to some other place, that's why we are not able to trace them, or maybe they have got assimilated in another group, a larger group. So right now we are not able to find them. So this is the recent finding or recent report. Now the final report is being reviewed by Niti Aayog, and government, what government is doing, they want that complete study should be done. After that we'll do final categorization. And to implement it, it's not like even if Niti Aayog has come up with the final report, only central government will not be playing the main role, but there will be some role of state governments. Here states can initiate inclusion, and there can be some problems. For example, there can be some political resistance. For example, if you're including some people in SC category, we all category there is reservation, so the pool of people will be increased as soon as you add more people into it. There will be more competition within SC. So there will be some resistance from the existing beneficiaries of SC community. SC isn't just an example. Okay. So all this you should know about denotified tribes. Okay. Now let me check any other comments we have. No. Okay. Let's move ahead with the next article. Mining politics. Now this article for you is important to know about tungsten. Okay, because the article is talking about tungsten mining and some politics is going on. For you that politics is not that important, rather tungsten is more important. Tungsten mining is more important. Tungsten as a critical mineral, you should have a good idea about it. So this is important for prelims as well as mains. Now I would suggest please read this particular question. I'll give you 10 seconds to read it. Done? So the question specifically focuses on district mineral foundation, and overall the question is trying to know about mineral exploration activities that exist in India, the legal framework related to it, and specifically this district mineral foundation. So you should have a really good idea about mines, mineral activities, mineral exploration activities, etc., the legal framework, etc. Okay. Now moving forward, if we talk specifically about this article. So recently, union government, that is central government, has cancelled an auction. The auction was related to tungsten mining. So there was some mining which was supposed to be taken place at Madurai in Tamil Nadu. So auction was getting done, but that auction is now cancelled by the government. Why? Because of some protests, because of some environmental concerns, because of some cultural concerns. Now, first of all, we will know what do we mean by tungsten. You all must have seen periodic table. Now, in this periodic table, if you look at this particular region, this part, we call these elements as transition elements. They have some specific properties, but we call them transition elements. And in this block, you will find at atomic number 74 a W symbol. This W symbol represents tungsten. Okay, its atomic number is 74. Now, if you go and try to find this mineral in the nature, you will not find a pure form of tungsten directly. So what will happen is simply either you will find it with some other mineral, it will be combined with some other mineral or mixed with some other mineral or some other rock. So directly you will not find the pure form of this mineral or this particular element called tungsten. Now, where usually it is found, if we talk about the minerals where you can find tungsten, this is wolframite and scheelite. Okay, although a bit technical, but you should have a brief idea about it. And once you take this tungsten out of it, out of this mineral, if you look at the element, this elemental form of tungsten, where you have pure tungsten at your desk, so we see that it looks somewhat white to steel gray. That's the color we see. But when it is in the pure form, means when you are finding it in the rocks or minerals, you will not see it in this color. Only in the elemental form you will see this color. Now, what are the properties of this tungsten? Well, first of all, it is highly dense. Its density is very, very high. So, when it is dense, that means it will be very heavy also. Okay. Second, its melting point is very high, somewhere around 3410 degrees Celsius. One of the highest when it comes to metals. So, it's not like you're gonna melt it easily. Even it will not vaporize very easily. So, you have to heat it till this to melt it, to make it liquid. So obviously to make it vapor or air in the form of some kind of gas, it will require more temperature, and it is having high tensile strength. When you say tensile strength is high, that means it's very, very strong. So you take tungsten and you're trying to break that tungsten using your hammer. It will not happen. It will not break because it is having a very high tensile strength. It's very strong, and even if you increase the temperature, it will still not melt or break. It's very difficult. So we are saying it's a very strong kind of a material. Now where can we use it? Now you can just imagine something which is so strong can be used for cutting something. Let's say you want to cut glasses, you want to cut any hard metals or materials, then you can easily use tungsten. And even in the electrical or industrial part, there in x-ray tubes, light bulbs, everyone knows about this part, that in light bulbs there is tungsten. But in x-ray tubes also we use it in welding electrodes, in turbine blades. So if you have seen that jet engine, there is turbine which is moving. In that turbine, those blades which are there, those can be made up of tungsten, or tungsten will be used in it. Then you can use it for defense purpose. For example, for your bullets, armor penetrators, gyroscope wheels, there you can use it. Then in the manufacturing part, for example, this term tungsten carbide is used as cutting tool, which I told you already. Then grinding wheels, shaping tools, etc. And for sports also, for example, if you're playing golf, then in golf clubs, darts, then as chemical catalyst, fire resistant, because you see it is heat resistant. To melt tungsten, you need 3000 degrees Celsius temperature. So it's a heat resistant thing. So as a fire resistant fabric, if you're making, there you can make use of tungsten, right? So all these are its applications. Now, if you look at the reserves of tungsten or the producers, China is the top producer of tungsten in the entire world. If I have to be more specific, 80% of the world's tungsten is coming from China. So there is no competition to China. After China, there is Vietnam, Russia, North Korea, etc. And you can understand in India we do not have much resources or reserves or reserves of tungsten. So what Indian government has done, Indian government has designated tungsten as a critical mineral. Critical means any mineral which is very important for the economy of India and national security of India. Such a mineral will be added in the list of critical minerals. Every country does this thing. Okay, if for a country, let's say, if supply of a particular mineral is suddenly disrupted, let's say we are having war with China and suddenly the supply of tungsten is not coming to us, then our economy will be at stake. Our national security will be at stake, because in defense also we are using it. Many of our industries require it. So such minerals are called critical minerals. Their supply chain is very important for us. And every country has this particular list. So it will include lithium, cobalt, and many other minerals. Okay, and tungsten is part of it. Now what are the concerns related to tungsten mining? Now this is an issue because of which this auction is cancelled in Tamil Nadu. So what are the causes? Why there was protest against it? So first reason is its environmental impact. So for tungsten mining, you will have to go ahead with deforestation. You will have to cut many trees. There will be habitat loss, and because of which there will be some disruption in the entire ecosystem of that area. So if you look at China, who is the largest producer of tungsten, There large scale deforestation was done. So we have example. Then there is a problem of water contamination. When you go ahead with these mining activities, it will lead to contamination of the groundwater. So in USA, we saw such thing happening in Nevada of USA. Groundwater pollution took place because of the mining of tungsten. Then there is health hazard. Those workers who are working in this industry, in this mining activity, they get exposed to this dust. And for long term, if they are exposed to this dust, that is not good for their lungs. They will get up with some lung diseases. And this we have seen in Bolivia happening, that some kind of respiratory illnesses were found in workers. So this is a concern. Then there are some political and social issues. For example, there is issue of land. Issue of land. So if a company like Vedanta is coming to Tamil Nadu, they want to invest, they want this mining activity to take place, they want some land, they want to acquire some land. So in such things, whenever it comes to mining and all, there can be some conflicts related to land. And many a times the local community, they don't want such projects in their area because they want a sustainable growth in their area. They don't want development at the cost of harming ecosystem of their area. So such reasons could be there. And here if we look at it, although we have discussed this part already, that China is already having control of 80% of the tungsten of the entire world. So what we see at the world level, when you look at USA and European Union, they are building their stockpile of tungsten because they can't trust China. There is geopolitical tensions going on and they want to reduce dependency on China. So this is the thing that is happening at world level. So all these are concerns that there is scarcity of tungsten in the entire world. Clear? Now we're supposed to take the last article of the day. No comments? Okay. So the last article is related to Acer report 2024. Now you can see this previous year question asked in the year 2020. Please read this question. I'll again give you 10 seconds of time. Please read. Done? So although the question is more or less focusing on National Education Policy 2020. Now Acer report is also talking something related to National Education Policy. So the report is quite important. So this is report Acer report 2024 and it's talking about the foundational literacy and numerical skills recovery in India. First of all, what is this report? The name Acer means Annual Status of Education Report. Now this report is not released by government, rather by an NGO. The name of that NGO is Pratham. It's a very famous NGO which works in the education sector. And this NGO comes up with a survey which is done at the national level. So throughout India and specifically the rural parts of entire India, that is their target stuff or that is their target public audience when it comes to taking up that survey. And in this rural part, they will look for children who are in this age bracket of 5 to 16. Now they will check what is their level of literacy. So when we say literacy, just reading and writing. Are they capable of doing this literacy, basic foundational literacy? Are they capable of doing this numeracy, which is very basic? So they'll expect that if you are in the sixth standard, are you able to do everything that a sixth class child is supposed to do? Or your level is below that, you're not even able to solve fifth class mathematics question or a numeracy question, even if you are in the sixth standard. So all these things will be checked under this particular survey, and it is considered to be one of the largest survey, citizen led survey done in India with respect to learning. Okay, so we call this survey as very important. It's a very valuable report for even government and policy makers. Now the recent has highlighted, first, in the COVID times, certainly Many things have gone wrong. We could not focus much on education. The levels have degraded. But after pandemic, post pandemic, we are recovering. This is what the report is saying. For example, class 3 students reading at class 2 levels, they recovered to 27%. Earlier it was 20%, 20.5% in 2022. Now it is 27%. So number is going good. They are saying for arithmetic proficiency, it rose to 33%. Class 5 students, they have shown a good improvement with respect to this division and other foundational skills which are required. So overall, the argument is there is some recovery, there is some improvement in the children. Then the report says specifically that government schools have outpaced private schools, especially after this pandemic. So it's a good news, and this could be done because of new education policy of 2020. Okay. Then specifically, they have talked about Uttar Pradesh. Their class 3 literacy level has increased from 6% to 27%. It's a very good improvement. And Himachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, they have also shown really good improvement. This is what this ACER report is saying. So one of the core thing highlighted by ACER report is the teacher training program which is being led by governments. So if you look at the new education policy of 2020, it specifically talks about teacher training program, that we need to train teachers. Once they are trained enough, they'll be going ahead with good action, good activities at the ground level. So this has been a good initiative is what this report is saying. Okay. Now the time has come for practice questions. So we have a mains practice question. Examine the role of socio-economic factors and legal frameworks in addressing child marriage in India. They're asking socio-economic factors and legal frameworks. So this should be part of your body. How effective are the current laws in combating these issues? So when you talk about legal frameworks, you have to talk about its relevance, its capability also. Okay. So when you start the answer, one of the best way would be to give some data related to child marriage. We already discussed about the data by NFHS or United Nations Children Fund. You can mention that data in the introduction. In the body part, we'll talk about socio-economic factors. So all these: poverty, social norms, lack of education, cultural tradition, dowry, safety concerns, all this will be part of it. Then the legal frameworks, Prevention of Child Marriage Act you will put. Then under this act, these officers are set. We have constitutional articles also. We have international commitment also. All this you will put. Then you are talking about its effectiveness, whether these laws are sufficient or not. So first of all, we'll talk about some challenges we are facing in it. Some positive dimensions you mentioned, but you mentioned that for them to be effective, we have to eliminate all these enforcement issues. There should be judicial oversight, there should be awareness. So all these should be done. And in conclusion, you can say that comprehensive action is needed. Only legal frameworks will not work. You need some awareness in social terms, you need an enhancement in economic terms. All this is required. This is how we can solve this entire issue. Okay. Now, some practice questions from yesterday's daily news analysis. I'll give the answers for this. So, it's about the Waqf properties. Waqf Act of 1995 defines Waqf as the endowment of movable or immovable property for purposes considered pious, religious, or charitable under Muslim law. That is true. Once a property is designated as Waqf, it can be revoked under specific circumstances. No, it cannot be revoked as such. This is what is mentioned in this particular act. So only one is the right answer. Second question related to Teesta River. It originates from Tibetan Plateau and flows through Indian states of Sikkim and West Bengal before merging into Bay of Bengal. Absolutely true. The drainage basin of Teesta River primarily covers Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal. No, no, no. It never goes to Jammu and Kashmir or Himachal. The statement is absolutely wrong. So one only is the right answer. And this last question for yesterday's articles, Guillain-Barré syndrome, sometimes mentioned in the news, refers to. Well, the right answer would be this one: autoimmune disorder affecting the peripheral nervous system. It affects your peripheral nervous system. Okay, it's a technical question, although a difficult question for you. Now, as a homework, you have to attempt the questions from the articles that we discussed today. You'll get a link in the comment box from where you can directly click and reach out to the website where you can attempt these questions. So please go ahead with that. Now the question is related to tungsten. It is a naturally occurring element that is characterized by low durability, prone to wear and tear, and bad conductor of electricity. Second, the US is the leading supplier of tungsten, followed by China. And third, Government of India has designated tungsten as a critical mineral due to its critical role in defense technology and industrial applications. Very easy question, I'll say. Second, about denotified tribes. They were classified as criminal tribes under Criminal Tribes Act of 1871 by British, but were denotified after India's independence. All nomadic tribes are denotified tribes, but not all denotified tribes are classified under scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC, etc. And denotified tribes commemorate their denotification on 31st August as known as Vimukt Jati Day. Now this is easy to moderate level question. You can attempt. And the last one is related to your new education policy, although this will be a relatively difficult for you to attempt. So NEP 2020 aims for universal FLN in primary schools by 2025 through a national mission and state level plans. Nipun Bharat aims for FLN. Now when you say FLN, although it is mentioned in short, but it is talking about your foundational literacy and numeracy. This is the area where ACER report focuses, right? So Nipun Bharat aims for FLN by grade 5 by 2026-27, focusing on teacher training and learning materials. So it's a difficult question, but you can still try to attempt it. So that's all for today. We've completed our daily news analysis for today, and we'll meet in the next session. Thank you so much for joining.